History is filled with pivotal moments, but some of the most game-changing decisions were initially seen as pure madness. Let's dive into the war decisions that looked incredibly stupid, but ended up changing the world forever. First up, the Battle of Cannae in 216 BC. The Carthaginian general Hannibal was vastly outnumbered by the Roman army. Instead of a direct assault, which would have been suicide, he did something completely counterintuitive. He deliberately weakened his center, luring the overconfident Roman legions into a trap. As the Romans pushed forward, Hannibal's elite troops on the flanks closed in from both sides, completely enveloping and annihilating them. What looked like a tactical blunder was actually a masterclass in strategy, a double envelopment that is still studied in military academies today. It was a devastating blow to Rome and solidified Hannibal's reputation as a military genius. Fast forward to 1776, the American Revolution. After a string of defeats, George Washington's army was on the brink of collapse. Morale was at an all-time low, so what did he do? He decided to cross the ice-choked Delaware River on Christmas night to launch a surprise attack on Hessian mercenaries in Trenton. The plan was outrageously risky. The weather was brutal, his troops were exhausted and ill-equipped, and failure meant the end of the revolution. But it worked. The surprise was total, the victory decisive. This bold, seemingly reckless move boosted morale, attracted new recruits, and ultimately saved the American cause. It proved that sometimes the biggest risks yield the greatest rewards. Now let's jump to World War II, the D-Day landings in 1944. The Allies needed to establish a beachhead in Nazi-occupied France, but the German defenses, known as the Atlantic Wall, were formidable. The decision to launch the largest amphibious invasion in history seemed like a monumental gamble. The weather was unpredictable, the casualties were expected to be horrific, and the logistical challenges were staggering. Many high-ranking officials had serious doubts, yet through incredible bravery, deception tactics like Operation Fortitude, and sheer determination, the Allies secured the beaches of Normandy. This seemingly impossible invasion opened up the Western Front, paving the way for the liberation of France and the eventual defeat of Nazi Germany. It was a decision that looked terrifyingly uncertain, but was absolutely essential to winning the war. And finally, the Incheon landing during the Korean War in 1950. With UN forces pushed back into a small corner of the Korean peninsula, General Douglas MacArthur proposed a daring amphibious assault at Incheon, far behind enemy lines. The plan was widely condemned as insane. Incheon had treacherous tides, narrow channels, and strong fortifications. The risks were immense. But MacArthur was convinced it was the only way to break the stalemate. He got his way, and the landing was a spectacular success. It cut off North Korean supply lines and forced them into a full retreat, completely turning the tide of the war. What everyone else saw as a fool's errand became one of the most brilliant strategic maneuvers in modern military history. These stories show us that history isn't always made by playing it safe. Sometimes it's the moves that everyone else calls crazy that end up changing everything. What other historical gambles do you think paid off? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history.